Live from KSAT 12, the News at Noon starts right now.
One of the most violent nights ever in recent memory in San Antonio overnight. Police have more than a half dozen new cases to investigate this noon. A number of stabbings and 3 separate shootings happening from one end of the county to another. This noon, as investigators continue, we have updates on 3 of these violent crimes. First, a local man saying that it wasn't his property. He was protecting his family when he shot and wounded a suspected car burglar. The violent clash happening early this morning outside of the car owner's home. Katrina Weber with how he says he does have some regrets about pulling that trigger.
I felt as though I was protecting myself. It wasn't about protecting my property.
All the police presence in this Northeast Side neighborhood shows the aftermath of what one man says he had to do when he found a stranger outside his home.
I was just laying in bed about 3 a.m. The camera went off, letting me know that it was motion detected in the front.
The car owner didn't want to show his face on camera, but what his security camera showed made this military veteran and Purple Heart recipient grab his gun and head outside. He says he found a suspected car burglar first inside his truck in the 6900 block of Caribou Creek, then seemingly running toward his front door.
It was pitch black. I couldn't see what he had in his hands. All I know is he raised his hands as was coming towards me, so I began to fire my weapon.
According to police, the car owner fired at least 10 rounds. The suspect was hit in both legs. He showed up later at a neighborhood hospital about a half-mile away. Police say they also found his car with blood inside in the parking lot. Back in the neighborhood after daylight, we found other signs of that gunfire. Bullet holes in a neighbor's car and garage. No one else was hurt. As for those that hit the suspect, they caused injuries police say were not life-threatening.
I wasn't trying to take someone's life for personal property or anything like that.
For now, police seem to agree the car owner isn't facing any charges. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
New details this noon in a shooting investigation. Another one. Police say one of the victims heard gunshots, but then realized there was a bullet that had hit him. The officer is telling us that the victims included a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old. Police didn't give much more information about all this, but they did say the pair was out walking at a home just before 11 o'clock in the night near the intersection of Coleman and B Street. That's not too far from Fort Sam Houston. One of the victims told police that they heard gunshots, and when they realized they'd been hit, they ran into the home to call for help. Both victims taken to the hospital. So far, police have not made any arrests. And one more shooting overnight. This happened in the south side of town just after 10 o'clock last night in the 400 block of Linda Lou Drive near South Hackberry. Officers now say this shooting started because the victim and several other people began arguing inside a victim's home. He asked them to leave. That's when someone shot him. Police say he should be okay, and they're still looking for the person who pulled that trigger. 74 degrees out there, but a lot of clouds, Sarah.
Yeah, those clouds are breaking up, though, Ursula. You can see a peak of sun there right over the airport. It's going to be a warm afternoon for us. Take a look at your screen. You can see those clouds right now starting to thin out. 74 in San Antonio, but it's already 80 in Laredo. It's 79 in Carrizo Springs and 79 in Cotulla. As we zoom in a little bit closer to San Antonio, you can see those clearing skies. Already 77 in Pleasanton. Now, much like yesterday, we're going to be looking at a high in the low to mid 80s with partly cloudy skies. 83 degrees this afternoon and a very mild evening. Temperatures only in the 70s after sunset, and we'll struggle to even get down into the 60s until after midnight. So it is going to be a mild evening, but things are changing. By this time tomorrow, it is going to be about 20 degrees colder. Wednesday, our highs are only going to be in the 60s. And then on Thursday, a chilly day in the 50s. There's a small chance for rain, too. Those details coming up.
Thank you, Sarah. The 2024 Olympics may be taking place this summer, but Northside ISD is having their own version of them right now, and they're using mini robots. Tiffany Huertos with the skills learned that set these machines in motion and the students who program them into future careers.
Northside ISD students are competing in different sports this week, from wrestling to to skiing.
All of our students in Northside have been able to practice all year long, each school across the district.
Students are competing with these robots they programmed at this year's Texas Sphere Olympics.
We have Bolt outside that's going to go swimming. We have Bolt doing the ski jump.
About 800 students are participating this week, including 12-year-old Khaki Cox.
And so I'm in an app, Sphero EDU, and I just aim it and then there's a drive button, because that's what I'm doing right now.
She has been learning how to program these robots since the beginning of the school year.
It's pretty cool. I really enjoy it.
What are some of the advantages of learning coding, programming, and STEM?
Yeah, absolutely. We really are preparing our kids for the world that they are going to inherit, which isn't even what we see today.
These students apply coding and programming skills in different ways.
It's also those 21st century skills, that soft skills. It's being able to how to communicate, how to collaborate, how to be able to problem solve and fail forward.
Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
High school basketball playoffs are winding down, and there is one local team looking to win their third title in 6 years. All 3 San Antonio police officers in court for their role in the shooting and killing of a woman who was apparently in the middle of a mental crisis. Former Sergeant Alfred Flores and Officer Elizar Alejandro are each charged with the murder of Melissa Perez. The other former officer, Nathaniel Villalobos, charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Prosecutors telling the judge in court that the defense has all of the evidence from last June's shooting, including body cam video. The next hearing for the case scheduled for April. The trial for a former area band teacher now underway. Mark Mallow, charged with possession of child pornography and promotion of child pornography. Mallow facing up to life in prison if he's found guilty. Back in August of 2022, he was arrested after Snapchat noticed the explicit media and reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. At the time, Mallow was a teacher at Woodlake Hills Middle School, which is part of the Judson ISD. He does have other charges pending. He was rearrested while out on bond for 3 different charges, including online solicitation of a minor. He will now stand trial on a later date for those charges. President Joe Biden making an attempt to avoid a partial government shutdown due to happen this weekend. This morning, a private meeting with the top 4 congressional leaders. ABC's M. Nguyen with how disagreements over immigration legislation and funding for Ukraine are standing in the way of a deal.
The top 4 congressional leaders summoned to the White House today: border security, Ukraine war funding, and the showdown over a looming government shutdown, all on the agenda.
Congress's responsibility from the government. We got to get about doing a shutdown would damage the economy significantly, and I think we all agree to that.
If lawmakers don't reach a deal by Friday, funding expires for several key agencies, including agriculture, transportation, housing, and veteran services. More than 100,000 federal workers could go without pay, including air traffic controllers, and that could potentially lead to travel disruptions. By next week on March 8th, the rest of the federal government will shut down, with funding running out for the Pentagon and the Department of Homeland Security. This meeting comes as Biden and Democrats remain at odds with House Republicans over additional aid to Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky warned his country is quickly running out of artillery needed to fight against Russian aggression.
I think the consequences of inaction every day in Ukraine are dire.
House Speaker Mike Johnson and his Republican colleagues have rejected bipartisan legislation that sought to fund both the Ukraine war effort and U.S. border security, either separately or bundled together. And in a made-for-TV split-screen political event, both President Biden and former President Trump plan to visit the border on the same day this week.
I've been planning to go Thursday. What I didn't know is my good friend apparently is gone.
For his part, Speaker Johnson is facing growing pressure from conservative Republicans to pass their own priorities, like on immigration and abortion. These issues at the top of voters' minds in this year's election. M. Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
Take a look outside with live cam. Few more peaks of sun happening right now, Sarah. And I guess when that opens up, it is going to get warm out there.
It is going to get warm out there. Plus, we have quite a bit of humidity out there as well. So the aquifer is actually up 0.6 of a foot over the past 24 hours. We have a ton of allergens out there. Ash is high, mulberry is moderate, molds, elm, hackberry, and oak are all low. And the small rain chance we have in our near future is really not going to do too much to wash out those allergens. Well, coming up in the forecast, how cold will we feel coming up? I'll tell you in just a bit.
Congratulations to a 7th grader from San Antonio who has banked her way into the hearts of millions in the U.S. She did this last night. Lila Smethurst attends Tex Hill Middle School in Northeast ISD, and she just won season 12 of the Food Network's Kids Baking Championship. She was crowned the winner on Monday night during the season finale last night, when the last 3 young bakers were tasked with creating science fair volcano cakes. How's that?
That is so cool,
Sarah? And the prize that they won was a feature in Food Magazine and $25,000. She said it was a dream come true, and the experience taught her she can do whatever she puts her mind to. And we have mutual friends with her parents, and there was a big watch party last night, and they had confetti and all kinds of things when she won. And those are some talented kids.
Amazing. Science fair edible volcanoes. How fun. Giving me some Science with Sarah ideas. Congratulations, Lila. We're so proud of you.
We'll have to get her on Science with Sarah and see how she did it. There's apparently also one of the finalists was from Hawaii and did something based on the volcano there.
That is amazing.
Lila won.
Way to go, Lila.
All right. We're going to head over to Fiona and Jen. They are live at Marcus Square. It's Girls' Day on KSAT 12 News at noon.
Girls' Day, I guess it is, and on SA Live, too. So what is the question of the day, guys?
We have taken over, and it is amazing. All right, so it is National Pokemon Day. So that got us thinking.
Yes, we want to know, what was your favorite childhood cartoon? So maybe it was Saturday morning, maybe it was just something you watched during the week. You guys have one?
You know, my brain is fried as a mom who had to watch 3 million episodes of Dora the Explorer. I blocked out anything before that.
Okay, well, I love Powerpuff Girls. That was my favorite.
That's a good one.
I would have loved My Little Pony.
Yes, My Little Pony.
Classic. Yes, those are good ones.
Dream Castle. Okay, so scan that QR code and let us know what was your favorite childhood cartoon. And you may see your answer in the show as we continue with SA Live from historic Market Square.
All right, I'm going to show my age. Tom and Jerry did come to mind. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the thing for Powerpuff Girls was sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of everything nice this week for us as far as the weather.
Everything but snow and hail.
Exactly.
That's about
We're just pretty much going to have ups and downs when it comes to the temperatures, Ursula. And speaking of the temperatures, take a look outside right now. You can see we have got temperatures in the 80s down near Laredo and Corpus Christi, in the upper 70s south of San Antonio, and right around San Antonio, the mid 70s. So we've got an interesting day today where we're going to have a huge temperature spread depending on where you live. And part of the reason for that is there's a dry line just off to our west. So around areas east of the dry line, it's very humid. It's noticeably humid in San Antonio. But take a look at dew points behind that dry line. Much colder. Dew points are in the 20s in Dryden. This is that dry line. It's going to be moving east and actually bringing drier air to areas west of San Antonio. So areas like Del Rio, the parts of the hill country, going to be seeing some drier air this afternoon. Dry air heats up easily, and so points west of San Antonio are going to be hotter. We could get into the mid 90s today for Del Rio and Eagle Pass, close to 100 for Laredo. Around San Antonio, though, temperatures, because we had the morning fog and the clouds are just now starting to clear, we're really only going to be able to get into the low to mid 80s this afternoon. More like the mid 80s this afternoon for many folks. Take a look at the weather setup. You can see the clouds streaming across Texas from the Pacific Ocean. This is a low pressure system. This is going to bring us at least some sprinkles on Thursday and Thursday night. But really the biggest impact to your day is going to be that colder air. air that is sitting up to the north. This is going to be moving through tomorrow. You can see the snowfall across many areas associated with this colder air, and the air is much colder behind this front. I mean, take a look at that. Temperatures 26 in Denver, but 74 in Wichita, where the front is just about to move through. Well below zero up in parts of Canada. So this is a dense cold air mass that is going to be making it to San Antonio. We are not, however, going to be dealing with freezing temperatures, so you do not need to worry about a late February, early March freeze. As we take a look at the futurecast, that cold front will move through early tomorrow, pretty much right around dawn. And temperatures tomorrow, rather than being in the 80s, we're going to be in the 60s all day. And it is going to get very windy, too. Take a look at these wind gusts. Wind gust potentials of up to 35 to 40 miles per hour with winds from the north. So tomorrow, if tomorrow is your trash day, make sure to quickly bring inside that bin, or you're going to have to end up chasing it perhaps down the street because of those gusty winds throughout the day tomorrow. Temperatures will continue to tumble, and by Thursday morning, we're only going to be in the 40s, so it is going to be noticeably chilly. And during the day on Thursday, our highs are only going to be in the low 50s. So it's going to be a chilly day on Thursday with some sprinkles. A few sprinkles here and there, not amounting to much. I do think we could see potentially some drizzle in the evening hours on Thursday. But again, the key there is not amounting to much, not going to help us out when it comes to the drought. Putting everything together for you, one last warm day today, then the front moves through, cool and windy tomorrow. Thursday, cloudy and chilly all day with highs only in the low 50s. Some sprinkles during the day and some drizzle during the evening. Then we quickly clear and see temperatures rebound. Take a look at that. Temperatures will be back into the 80s and upper 70s over the weekend, with only an isolated shower there possible. Coming up, a lot of people have been smelling spring. I'll tell you what I mean in just a bit. Ursula.
I think I know what you're talking about. Break out the Kool-Aid. New today at 5. If you're in the market for a brand new vehicle, Consumer Reports might be able to help you find your next set of wheels. We've got the list of this year's top picks from SUVs, trucks, cars, and SUVs and hybrids. We're going to show you which brands and models made the list. It's today at 5 after Entertainment Tonight. The high school basketball playoffs coming to an end over the next 2 weeks, and the Antonian boys basketball team is still alive in the TAPS 6A state semi-round. They're going to be playing Friday night in Waco. The Apaches are 8-time state champs. They're looking to win their 3rd title in 6 years. Our Nick Mantis caught up with the team to find out more about these Apaches with an appetite for winning.
Discipline and attention to detail is key for this Antonian squad. The Apaches are one of the final 4 boys basketball teams still standing in the TAPS 6A playoffs. This week, they'll take on John Paul II out of Plano in the state semifinal round. And they're confident in their ability to bring home another state title.
You know, I feel fortunate, but I feel like we can compete with anybody. Just knowing and seeing them practice every day and seeing good days and bad days, but seeing the potential and realizing that we're almost there.
They look like a good team. They have some athletes, but if we play together and play good defense, I think we should be good.
Most teams is out, even in the 6A public schools, so if you're still playing now and still practicing, it's a blessing. Just enjoy it.
Each successful team usually has something that brings them closer together throughout the season, whether that's a mantra or a theme. But for these Apaches, it's their appetite. So what's their favorite place to eat?
Chipotle. We all agree that that's a good place to eat. It's cheap.
What's your Chipotle order?
The burrito with chicken.
I say burrito, double steak, double chicken, guac, queso, cheese, sour cream, rice.
A team hungry for another championship. Nick Mantis, KSAT 12 Sports.
Head coach Amy Rudy and her Bernie Greyhounds are hard at work getting ready for the UIL Girls Basketball State Championships, and that's where they're going to face Canyon High School. It's happening on Friday afternoon in the 4A semifinals. Canyon hails from the Panhandle area just south of Amarillo, and the Greyhounds are 34-4 this season. Bernie Felt in state semis last season to Sunnyvale, and that's just adding some fuel to the Greyhounds' fire this season.
I think that based off of our last year's loss, it was definitely very difficult to swallow. We had some great seniors. Jamie Reedy, she was amazing. She's doing great at Trinity right now. But I think at the end of the day, it's making us work harder because we're having to prove ourselves even more and more. And it just fuels us. Every loss is just another opportunity to become better. And I think that it's really going to be what puts us over the edge this year.
I would say without a doubt, this team compared to other teams, everyone is playing for each other. And not only are we playing for each other, everyone is willing to do whatever it takes to win. Like if we need a layup, everyone's going at the basket. If we need a foul, they're coming for you. If we need a three-pointer, we're going to knock it down.
Oh, and Canyon is a tough opponent. They're making their 29th trip to state, and they're looking to win their 21st state championship. The playoff is happening Friday at 3 o'clock at our Alamo Dome, the winner advancing to the 4A state championship game on Saturday night. It is game day for the Silver and Black. The San Antonio Spurs closing out their Rodeo road trip tonight at 7 o'clock. They're going to take on the Timberwolves, the top team in the West. Come on, guys. One more game. Saving money for college can seem like a really tall order, but there is some help out there. The 3 types of accounts parents should know about and the budget they're going to need for their child's future. Next. Absolutely terrifying. That is the sound of gunfire and panic at a Houston megachurch earlier this month. Police releasing nearly a half hour of church security and body cam video from Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church. It includes video of the gunwoman arriving at the church, parking her car, getting out her young son of the vehicle, and then there's the footage of her in the church hallway here just moments before she began shooting an AR-style rifle. She was shot and killed in a confrontation with police officers, but security officers, one of them was also killed. Her 7-year-old son is still in critical condition from a gunshot wound to the head, and a church volunteer was also shot. Despite weeks of investigation, no motive for this church shooting has been released. All eyes on Michigan today as voters head to the polls. Former President Donald Trump expected to pick up another victory over Nikki Haley, and President Biden facing upset voters who are working to send him a message about the war in Gaza with a protest. The group is trying to get through to President Joe Biden by engaging in a protest vote, checking the uncommitted box instead of voting for him because he has not pushed for an enduring ceasefire in Gaza. Michigan has the highest population of Arab Americans in the U.S.
I want to support Biden, but he's like, right now, no, I just can't. With the actions that are happening, I can't support him at this point.
In 2020, Arab Americans helped deliver Biden a critical state, Michigan. He won by just 154,000 votes. But that support is now in doubt after months of Biden backing Israel in its war against Hamas. Aides to Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny claiming they were negotiating a prisoner swap before his death. One of Navalny's closest advisors posted on social media that Russian President Vladimir Putin offered up Navalny and 2 American citizens, all in exchange for a Russian operative who is serving a life sentence in Berlin for murder. The advisor says that they were finalizing that deal with an informal negotiator on February 15th. Navalny died in prison just 1 day later. The German government is not commenting on the alleged swap. A Kremlin spokesperson says that he knows nothing about such a deal. In Georgia, the Fulton County district attorney and the top prosecutor in the state's 2020 election interference case, they're both changing their phone numbers after they got harassing phone calls over the weekend. Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade say that their contact info was leaked when the court received hundreds of pages of unredacted cell phone records. The cell phone records later appeared on social media through a leak. Meantime, Wade's former law partner and divorce attorney Terrence Bradley is being forced back to court to testify in the case. The judge says his communications regarding Wade and Fannie's relationship when it began, before or after Wade was hired, is not privileged information, and he wants to hear it. Taking a look outside with live cam once again. Where did the sun go? Well,
it's there.
It's there. It's just a little murky, just a little bit.
You're right, Ursula. We're still dealing with visibility less than perfect out there from some haze. But hey, I talked about a lot of people are smelling the smell of spring. Well, if you've been here long enough in San Antonio in the Hill Country, you know the smell of mountain laurel. Some people say it smells like the color purple, just generally the color purple, or artificial grape or Kool-Aid. Ursula, what do you think it smells like?
Absolutely grape Kool-Aid, but like with not enough water.
Oh, interesting. So
real
concentrated.
Sugary. Yeah.
Some people say purple pixie sticks, those kinds of things.
That make you sneeze.
So not only do they create these beautiful blooms, but they also create those little red seeds that almost look like little beans. If you've grown up in San Antonio, I remember when I was a kid, my dad would rub it on concrete and try to scare me. And it creates a light little burning sensation. If you'd like to know more about mountain laurel trees, I've written a whole article about that. You can go ahead and scan that QR code, learn a little more about mountain laurel trees. They really are only in bloom for a couple of weeks, and then the smell of spring is long gone. 74 degrees outside, southwest winds at 10 miles per hour. You can see that we've got visibility still a little hazy out there in some places, but the skies are clearing. Take a look at the clouds disappearing before our eyes, and that's going to allow for temperatures to really climb this afternoon. It's 74 in San Antonio right now, but take a look at Pleasanton, 80 degrees. We'll be up to about 83, 84 today, and then tomorrow cold front moves through. That causes temperatures to tumble only in the 60s during the day tomorrow, only in the 50s on Thursday, but you're going to want to stick around and see how gusty those winds will be tomorrow as that front moves through. Details on your forecast, including a small chance for pretty unsubstantial rain. Those details coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Sarah. Wendy's, the country's second largest burger chain, says that starting next year, menu prices are going to fluctuate during the busiest times of day. That's right. It means you could be paying as much as $1 more if you buy your burger during the lunch rush. To make the price adjustments, Wendy's is spending $20 million on digital menu boards that can update prices in real time next year. College tuition costs continuing to rise, and it's important for parents to start saving and planning early for their child's education. One of the most common savings plans, 529. I should have done it earlier. I'm telling you now. And there are some new changes as to how these accounts work that may make them more appealing. CNN's Jean Sullivan breaking down what parents need to know now.
When it comes to saving for college, there are 3 types of accounts parents should know about. Savings account. Your child can use the money for anything, and there's no penalty for withdrawals, but the interest you earn may be lower than other options. Custodial account. No withdrawal penalties as long as the funds are used for the child. Returns are taxed at the child's tax rate. The account can't be transferred to someone else. 529 plan. Your money is invested over a period of years. Any return you earn is exempt from federal taxes. If you direct the funds towards educational expenses, your withdrawals are tax-free. Tony Durkin with Fidelity Investment says 529s offer great benefits.
A 529 is a great tax advantage way to save and pay for qualified educational expenses.
New this year, unused money can be rolled over into a Roth IRA.
That was a barrier to entry for some folks to get into 529s because they didn't know what would happen with those unused money.
Here's how that works. The 529 must be held for the designated beneficiary, in this case your child, for at least 15 years. The transfer amount is subject to IRS limits. It's $7,000 in 2024. There's also a $35,000 lifetime cap for each beneficiary. The tax benefits are a big selling feature.
Every state's different, but a lot of states offer a state tax deduction for contributions made to a 529 account.
And when it comes to savings, contribute as much as you can and off it. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Safety concerns now in the headlines once again after a Georgia nursing student was murdered while out jogging. If you're worried about this, ABC's Faith Abube explains how ditching your headphones and joining a club should be added to your running agenda now.
The shocking death of a nursing student killed while jogging on a wooded trail at the University of Georgia, raising new concerns about women's safety. The incident, just the latest in targeted attacks against women exercising alone.
As a woman, do you feel more vulnerable in certain situations?
Yes, all the time. I feel vulnerable walking. I feel vulnerable even in the car.
The murder of 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts making national headlines in 2018 after she was abducted and killed while jogging in her Iowa hometown. Just 2 months later, another woman, 35-year-old Wendy Karina Martinez, fatally stabbed multiple times while out running in Washington, D.C.
This is protecting her face.
Some women are now taking control of their own safety by signing up for self-defense classes.
Sadly, not until you're in that situation that you realize, oh, I'm not equipped for this.
The instructor also teaching us some of the potentially life-saving techniques.
Move your hips, smash the groin.
Nelson Neo says if you have to fight back during an attack, focus on the center of the attacker's body.
Imagine 3 red buttons, the eyes and the nose, the throat, and the groin. So if you hit someone, you always hit the center.
Experts also stress being aware of your surroundings at all times. Avoid tuning out the world with headphones. Recruit a friend and prioritize open and populated areas. And if all else fails, scream as loud as you can to scare a would-be attacker. Katerina Oshbauer telling us she signed up for this class to feel more empowered after she escaped an attempted assault years ago while overseas.
What do you hope to get out of this class?
I hope I remember some of the moves.
Hopefully you never get in a situation that you need it, but
exactly.
If you do. And while these tips and classes can save your life, bottom line, it's better to limit your risks in the first place rather than trying to fight through a dangerous situation. Safety experts say always trust your gut. If an area doesn't feel safe, avoid it. And for women who prefer running at night or early in the morning, it's probably best to join a local running group. Faith Abube, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Good advice there. Safety in numbers, as they say. Looking outside, way off in the distance, you can see that is our city.
Yeah, but usually on a nice sunny day, we can see that very clearly, but we do have some haze out there. Now, I gotta mention, even though the aquifer's up half a foot, more than half a foot over the last 24 hours, it's still 20 feet below the monthly average. The aquifer, of course, being our main source of water. So again, we need the rain, even though we had a pretty rainy start to the year. We also need the rain to help wash out some of the pollen. Ash is high, mulberry is moderate, molds, elm, hackberry, and oak all low today, but it is tree pollinating season, as you can see. Now, the rain chances, unfortunately, we're just not going to see much rain in the near future. However, if you're a fan of cooler weather, I've got good news for you. Temperatures dropping. By this time tomorrow, we're going to be some 15 to 20 degrees cooler. Details coming up. Well, welcome back to the news at noon. We are seeing skies clear and it's going to be a warm afternoon. If you like the warm weather, we got some good weather for you this week. If you like the cool weather, we got some good weather for you this week. Lots changing in the next 24 hours. Outside in Del Rio, it's 74 degrees, 75 in Hondo, 74 in San Antonio, but look down toward Pleasanton, about 6 degrees warmer because they're seeing a little bit more sunshine than San Antonio is at the moment. But skies are clearing as we speak. It's 77 in Bulverde, 72 in Kerrville, 73 in New Braunfels, where it's still fairly cloudy, 80 in Pleasanton. When we look at today's highs, this afternoon's forecast highs, it's going to be close to 90 degrees the further west you go. Around San Antonio, mid-80s is a safe bet. Up toward Bulverde, New Braunfels, Canyon Lake, Seguin, low 80s for the high this afternoon. Upper 80s down near Pleasanton, where it's already 80 degrees. All right, let's take a moment, talk about the weather setup, talk about big changes headed our way. As we take a look outside with the satellite picture, you can see the clouds moving from south to north across the state of Texas. There's a big low pressure system right over Baja California. This is going to move to east into Texas and give us, well, an opportunity for pretty much some very light rain on Thursday. It's really not going to amount to much, maybe a few sprinkles during the day. But before that low can reach us, a cold front is going to get here first. And the reason why we're not going to see a lot of rain from this low is because this cold front is going to dry out the atmosphere in a big way for us, at least the lower levels of the atmosphere. And you can see where that cold front is right now. A lot of snowfall for areas in Colorado, up toward Canada, and much colder air behind this front. Temperatures some 70 degrees colder behind this air mass. Now we are going to be seeing temperatures fall in San Antonio into the 50s and 60s. So not nearly as cold as what they're dealing with up north, but definitely a change of pace from the humid weather we've seen. That front will arrive tomorrow shortly after 7 o'clock. It's going to drop temperatures into the 50s briefly in the early morning hours. Take a look at those winds. Winds will be sustained from the north at 20 miles per hour, but we will see a few gusts of up to 35 to 40 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy tomorrow with a high temperature only in the low to mid 60s. So a cool day and windy tomorrow. Gusts up to about 40 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour in the mid-morning, early afternoon hours. So if tomorrow is your trash day, make sure to quickly bring that bin inside, or else those winds could end up knocking down your trash bin. So those temperatures falling, highs only in the 60s on Wednesday, only in the 50s on Thursday. Thursday is going to be a chilly day, but then before it stays cool for too long, we're going to warm right back up into the weekend. Highs climbing into the 80s, low 80s on Saturday and Sunday. I mentioned very light rainfall. Very light rainfall is going to be around on Thursday in the form of sprinkles. That is not enough to help us get out of the drought situation by any means. And then perhaps some drizzle on Thursday evening. Again, maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain if you're lucky. Morning lows will be in the 40s on Thursday and Friday, but again, a quick warm up into the weekend.
This Rodeo Remembers, powered by your San Antonio area Chevy dealers.
In the early days of rodeo, the talents of both cowboys and cowgirls were on display, but one accident led to a major setback.
As America moved west, women learned to rope and ride, but working herds wasn't considered women's work. However, by the late 1800s, Wild West shows began making cowgirls like Annie Oakley and Lucille Mulhall famous.
By the early 1900s, women began to rodeo. The first professional female athlete was Prairie Rose Henderson.
Known for her flashy fashion sense and daring saddle skills, she became a world champion bronc rider in 1911.
In the 1920s, women were competing in a third of the nation's rodeos. But in 1929, a tragedy changed everything.
Bronc rider Bonnie McCarroll caught her foot in her stirrup after being thrown. After her death, rodeos began replacing cowgirl competitions with ranch girl beauty contests.
But attitudes did change. In 1942, women's barrel racing became an accepted rodeo event, and the first all-women's rodeo was held in Bonham, Texas.
These rodeos were exhibitions, not official competitions, but a dispute over an Amarillo calf roping event led to the formation of the Girls Rodeo Association in 1948.
In the decades that followed, the GRA advanced the role of women in rodeo. In 1981, they changed their name to the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. Thanks to them, today's rodeos are proof that you can't keep a cowgirl down.
This Best of Mutton Busted, powered by your San Antonio area Chevy dealers.
Doing a little jig there. It is Ladies' Day at SA Live and here on the news at noon. Fiona and Jen standing by at historic Market Square. Hey, guys.
Hey there. All right. Well, guess what? We are digging into some delicious pizza today with an edge.
Yes, Rock and Roll Pizza. It's one of the newest spots in town. They brought a whole spread for us to try. We have Mike and Tori joining us. You have to tell us some of the fun names you have.
Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Well, my favorite is Stevie Sticks. It's our mozzarella sticks, named after the great singer. And I like the Beach Boy. Beach Boy is one of my favorite bands. So
There
the
you
Beach Boy
go.
is a Hawaiian pizza.
And stuff is made from scratch, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Made from scratch. Now, if you're looking for something to do with the family, there's a free art exhibit right here, not too far from where we're at in Market Square. We're going to take you inside and meet the artist.
And spring break is fast approaching, so if you need some great camp ideas for your kids, we've got a roundup you're not going to want to miss.
Plus, our social question today, what is your favorite childhood cartoon?
Yes.
We're going to share ours too.
Let us know. So scan that QR code and we will chat with you in a bit.